This is one cool and majestic-looking bird. I mean, come on, look at those eyelashes. So fancy. But don't judge a book by its cover. Secretary birds are skilled and ruthless killing machines. And just like their looks, the way they hunt is unique. By stomping and kicking their prey to death.
Stop! He's already dead!
Why do secretary birds use their legs as weapons against snakes? What other hunting tactics do they use? Why are they called secretary birds? Follow along as we kick up some dust with this bizarre bird. Secretary birds are native to Africa and live in open areas like savannas and grasslands. The tallest birds of prey in the world, these predators stand between 1.3 meters and 2 meters tall and have a wingspan up to 2.1 meters. Despite their massive wings, secretary birds are only one of 2 birds of prey species that spend the majority of their time hunting on the ground. They only take to the air when it's absolutely necessary, like to reach their nest or to escape danger. And they never miss a workout, walking an estimated 20 to 30 kilometers daily. #goals.
#rise and grind.
Their favorite meal is venomous snakes, like adders and cobras.
Yummy.
Odd choices, considering the risks. To locate their next meal, they will stamp their feet on the ground to flush out hiding prey. The tactics these birds use to attack snakes are iconic. But why do they use these unconventional methods? Since they often hunt deadly predators, they need to act swiftly to avoid being bitten. It only takes a fraction of a second for a snake to turn and bite, so secretary birds must strike hard and fast. The kicks can deliver the power of 5 to 6 times their body weight in a tenth of the time it takes a person to blink. Blink! They also come equipped with scales on their lower leg that provide protection against counterattacks. The specialized hunting tactics don't stop there. They'll raise their head crest feathers and spread their wings out as a distraction. All this to trick slithering foes to strike at these hollow feathers rather than somewhere else a little more vital. Apart from a snake-filled diet, secretary birds are not picky. They'll eat just about anything that crawls past them, completely whole. Rodents, lizards, rabbits, you name it. Because their leg movements are so quick and powerful, scientists have been studying them to help design fast-moving robot limbs and prosthetics. You're probably wondering why it's called a secretary bird. There are a couple of theories. Its scientific name is Sagittarius serpentarius.
Come again?
Sagittarius is Greek for archer, and serpentarius highlights their skill at hunting snakes. Archer of snakes, if you will. Another is their head crest feathers, resembling how a 19th century lawyer's clerk would place a feather quill in their hair in the midst of writing. Monogamous, they'll do a courtship ritual when attracting a mate. The 2 lovebirds will take flight for a unique mid-air display or a dance-like routine on the ground. Who said romance is dead? They'll make a nest at the top of isolated thorny trees like the acacia. They'll reuse the nest, making it larger every year. It's here both parents will be part of the incubation period for their 2 to 3 eggs before taking on feeding duties once they're hatched. Kicking snakes and stomping prey is what secretary birds do. Okay, I'm not sleeping tonight. This isn't a hand puppet or an animatronic. And don't let their big eyes and gigantic mouths fool you. These birds are real, and they're the stuff of nightmares. Turn up your sound. You'll want to hear this. This is a potu bird. You might have seen memes of this bug-eyed bird making the rounds on social media. Or maybe you've heard their iconic calls, like the one we just played for you. So why do they scream like that? Besides scaring us half to death. What do potu birds use their gigantic eyes and mouths for? And why do potus have one of the saddest stories in the world? There are 7 species of potu birds, and they're all native to Central and South America. But not all of their calls are the same. Northern potus have the famous creepy, growling calls you heard earlier. Great potus have a more human-like call. It's a womp or bomp sound that some people have described as a groaning teenager calling for their mom. But their unique calls have inspired countless local myths and stories that aren't so pleasant. One of which is an Amazonian legend called Ai Mama. This story is about two children abandoned by their parents in the woods. At night, the children magically turn into birds and can fly home. They eternally call out for their mother, singing the song Ai Mama. So if they aren't the scariest birds in the world, they're definitely one of the saddest. But aside from the sad stories, can you guess what potus use their calls for? They're used to communicate with each other. Shocker. Male potu birds use their scary screeches to attract potential mates. Demonic screams aren't my cup of tea, but hey, whatever works. You do you, potu. And what's the deal with potu birds' oversized facial features? Their eyes might look ridiculous and comical, but they're helpful for the birds' nocturnal habits. Potu's large, luminescent eyes help them to see extremely well in the dark. So much so that their eyes easily reflect any source of light, like a flashlight. Okay, that's pretty freaky. And it doesn't help their creepy reputation. To stay alert and stop their conspicuous eyes from blowing their cover, potu birds have small slits in their eyelids. This lets them watch out for predators while taking their daily snooze. But in the cover of night, potu birds are very active. They expertly use their night vision to guide their massive mouths. Potus have pretty small beaks, but that doesn't stop them from catching some tasty insects. They've evolved to swallow their prey in a single bite. All potus have to do is open their mouths wide and scoop up as many bugs as they can fit down their gullets. If you're intrigued and brave enough to find these birds, let me warn you. They can be hard to find. There are plenty of them, but potu birds are masters of disguise. Their feathers perfectly blend into the trees they perch on, and they can hide in broad daylight by posing as a tree branch. Their undercover abilities combined with their slow movement and the slits in their eyelids let potu birds track anything approaching them. So it's safe to say that most potus will be long gone before you get anywhere close to them. That is, if you can even spot one. Eating lots of bugs at once and crying like a demon or an upset teenager is what potu birds do. If you could combine a turkey, a peacock, and a dinosaur, you might get something that looks like this weird thing.
You are bizarre.
You might find them bobbing around in the rainforests of Australia and New Guinea. This is a cassowary.
You're weird.
And some people call it the most dangerous bird in the world. What makes the cassowary so dangerous? Is it related to dinosaurs? And what's that helmet-like thing on its head for? Don't make any sudden moves. We're getting up close with the feisty cassowary. The cassowary is an insular ratite, or simply put, a large flightless bird. It has a glossy, black-feathered body, a red neck wattle, and a bright blue face. 12,000 years ago, as humans began to evolve and adapt, most ratites had already gone extinct. The few that survive have exceptional grit. At 2 meters tall and weighing over 76 kilograms, the cassowary may not be the tallest or heaviest bird around. So what makes it the most dangerous bird in the world? A cassowary can leap up to 2 meters high with its muscular legs. That's about as tall as a horse. Its feet are equipped with 3 sharp, dagger-like talons. Yeah, that'll do it for me. And the middle one can grow as long as 10 centimeters. When these angry, powerful creatures spring into the air, they can kick you with both feet at once. That blow could slice right through you, causing more than a few puncture wounds, bone fractures, and deep skin lacerations. But you would have to be extremely unlucky to get kicked by a cassowary. Usually, an angry cassowary will try to peck, headbutt, or charge you. The rest of the time, they like to mind their own business. These giant birds are shy and reclusive until you approach their young or enter their territory. Of the 221 known cassowary attacks, 150 have involved humans. And most of them happened because the humans seem to be refusing to give the bird food. Over the years, ill-advised humans have attempted to feed cassowaries. This has taught the bird to associate humans with food.
Stay very still, Dad.
This misunderstanding, coupled with shrinking habitat, is usually at the heart of cassowary attacks. But if you're still hell-bent on befriending a cassowary, you'll have to do better than throwing it some scraps off your barbecue. Unlike their ostrich cousins, cassowaries maintain their impressive bulk on a diet of rainforest fruit. That makes them the largest avian frugivore on the planet. Many species of rainforest trees would disappear without the cassowary helping their seeds to disperse. And if this bird keeps reminding you of this guy, there's an excellent reason why. Scientists are still working out the exact details of their evolutionary chain, but these big birds are the last living link to dinosaurs. The helmet-like casque on the head closely resembles that of a newly discovered dinosaur species, the Corythoraptor jacobsi. It's a modified cranial bone covered with keratin. That's the same protein our nails and hair are made of. They even seem to be putting it to the same use as their long-dead relatives did: communication. We now know that these birds use their cranial casques to capture and emit low-frequency sounds. Also used for socio-sexual displays, the cassowary's cranial casque is surprisingly flexible and leather-like to the touch. All right, who's been touching the cassowary's cranial casque? And although they're usually antisocial, cassowaries will hiss, rumble, or whistle at each other when absolutely necessary. But that's about as chatty as this bird ever gets. The only close relationship a cassowary ever has is with its father during the early part of its life. While the female cassowary walks out on her 3 to 5 eggs immediately after laying them, the male spends 60 days incubating them. Once they have hatched, young cassowaries learn the ropes from their father, following him around for up to 16 months. But that's a rare situation. Usually the father has had enough of the chicks after 9 to 10 months. Then he chases them off his territory.
Let's go! It's time to move out!
Rainforest trees aren't the only thing that depend on ancient birds like the cassowary. Do you know that ostrich antibodies could help fight COVID-19? We've got that covered too in another episode. Slashing opponents with super sharp claws and communicating through their cranial helmets is what cassowaries do. Brace yourself for an animal so monstrous, it's named after one of the most formidable predatory creatures in Greek mythology. And it's armed with enough natural weaponry when it takes to the sky, everything below needs to run for its life. It's the harpy eagle, genetically programmed to seek and destroy any prey it targets. With a wingspan substantially longer than the average height of a human, it can also fly as fast as a speeding car. How does this apex predator make a meal of any animal, no matter the size? What indigenous defense mechanisms have some of its favorite victims developed? Who would come out on top in a harpy versus human battle? Strolling through the Amazon rainforest? Look up, way up. If you've packed binoculars and a lucky rabbit's foot, you might spot the nest of a pair of harpy eagles anywhere from 27 to 43 meters in the canopy above you. It's a sight you won't ever forget, since it'll be 1.2 meters thick and 1.5 meters across, with a lining made of greens and fur. It might also be guarded by 2 of the planet's strongest eagles, packing talons larger than a grizzly bear's claw, up to 13 centimeters in size. The harpy eagle also mates for life, so you might be making eye contact with animals that weigh up to 11 kilograms and have been ridiculously efficient hunting partners for over 30 years. One thing is for certain with this encounter: those harpy eagles and the feather crest atop their heads saw you long before you saw them. That's because these stealthy airborne attackers can spot something an inch long from nearly 200 meters away. It's an ability that comes in handy when a territorial harpy parent is on the prowl for dinner for its chick. As one parent guards the nest, the other will scan an area for snakes, porcupines, and armadillos. The female harpy, which is often twice the size of the male, is even capable of using brute force to grab sloths and monkeys from the rainforest canopy. Putting its 2-meter wingspan to good use, an adult howler monkey is no match for the lifting power of the muscular legs and piercing talons belonging to this Amazon raptor. Just ask the very vocal howlers living on Panama's Barro Colorado Island, a biological reserve. Scientists wanted to see how the howler monkeys living there would react to predators after being unchallenged for decades. For the island's newest residents, part of a species that prefers living in isolation in the same territory for years if possible, it was like a heavenly primate buffet. Using their flight speed that can reach up to 80 kilometers per hour, the 2 harpy eagles feasted on unsuspecting howlers at will. Until the howlers devised a defensive strategy, that is. Already known for their repertoire of ear-piercing screams, the Barro Colorado Island howlers developed a new warning call they'd unleash whenever they heard the ominous screech a harpy eagle lets out prior to attacking. The result was the harpy's potential prey scattering, while also scaring off the would-be attacker with their own alarm signals. So these particular harpy eagles were a little spooked on the island, but why is it this, one of the most powerful birds on the planet, is listed as a near-threatened species? Unfortunately, humans have a natural ability for obliterating the regions harpy eagles usually call home for their entire lives. Combine this with poachers selling their feathers and impressive claws, and we become the one animal the harpy eagle doesn't stand a chance against. It's equipped with deadly talons, immense strength, and insane flight speed. No wonder we need to call the harpy eagle a crazy creature.